Hello, this is Lee Lewis of the Welshman Studios. I am doing a show coming up about signs and symbols and the languages, so stick with me, but I found this on Bitchute and I'm going to put my own 2 cents in and I'm going to interject here and there. As I've heard people say, and as what I've seen, truth is stranger than fiction. Can't see why not, but if this video is being blocked, it will be uploaded on my Rumble channel and Bitchute channel, which I'm starting to get things together now. So thank you for your support, your comments. You can now contact me at my new email address, which is welshmanstudios@gmail.com, all_. If you have anything, share pictures of UFO, paranormal, personal testimonies, or you just want to be a guest on the channel, I'm starting those interviews. So anyway, let's get on with the show.
Our administration believes that there are loopholes that could allow the cloning of human beings if the technology were developed. Therefore, today I am issuing a directive that bans the use of any federal funds for any cloning of human beings. Effective immediately, no federal agency may support, fund, or undertake such activity. Of course, a great deal of research and activity in this area is supported by private funds. That is why I am urging the entire scientific and medical community, every foundation, every university, every industry that supports work in this area, to heed the federal government's example. I'm asking for a voluntary moratorium on the cloning of human beings until our Bioethics Advisory Commission and our entire nation have had a real chance to understand and debate the profound ethical implications of the latest advances. As we gain a fuller understanding of this technology, we must proceed not just with caution, but also with a conscience. By insisting that not a single taxpayer dollar supports human cloning, and by urging a moratorium on all private research in this area, we can ensure that as we move forward on this issue, we weigh the concerns of faith and family and philosophy and values, not merely of science alone. Thank you very much.
Humans made to order. Mothers giving birth to themselves, babies conceived just so their body parts can be transplanted. Come with me into the scary new world of cloning. The nightmarish stuff of science fiction has suddenly become a reality. The genie is out of the bottle, said scientists in Scotland earlier this year when they successfully cloned a sheep. And they weren't kidding. Using those same techniques, it's now possible to clone humans. What's more, there are doctors ready and able to do it.
And it will not be done for the best reasons. It will be done for all kinds of bizarre reasons, but be in no doubt that it will be done.
What we're talking about doing is making exact replicas of ourselves. Strictly speaking, it would be legal to clone me, for example, tomorrow. And this is the place it's most likely to happen, a leading IVF clinic outside of New York. Behind those walls, there are people with the technology, the ability and the desire to genetically engineer human embryos, to be the first in the world to successfully clone a human being.
There's no doubt that human beings will be cloned.
Dr. Jacques Cohen, a leader in his field, simply needs the approval of his clinic's ethics committee to make history. So if I had the money, you had the permission, you could clone me tomorrow.
Well, I wouldn't say tomorrow. It will take a year or two. We could clone you probably within 2 years.
What you're seeing here is an actual cloning taking place at the research facility in Scotland that pioneered the technique. In theory, it's blindingly simple. Here, it's an animal. But just as easily, you can take a cell from a human. A scraping of skin will do. Then, get an egg from a female, remove the nucleus and fuse the two with a spark of electricity. And ta-da, you have an embryo. Implant the embryo in a woman and 9 months later, you have a carbon copy of the person from whom the skin scraping was taken.
looking at all aspects of gene technology, how we can take a gene from your body and put it into one of those goldfish.
And make a very exciting goldfish.
Well, perhaps
Dr.
one that goes
Patrick
3 or 4
Dixon,
times as fast
a
as you
bioethicist based in London, says human cloning is imminent, probably unstoppable, and most certainly wrong. Well, this is Dolly. A sheep, but one sheep which has managed to change our understanding of how life begins forever. Little Dolly and many other species of animals cloned since, including monkeys, are powerful evidence that we humans can replicate ourselves. It's a bit like taking a cutting from a plant in the garden.
And we can show you a photograph album of exactly what your child will look like on the 2nd birthday, 4th, 8th, 10th, 32nd birthday, come to that. We can show you they'll have a receding hairline at the age of 34, they'll be completely bald at 45, but a musical genius into the bargain. That's great.
Cloning is not illegal in most states in America, and the Raelian movement has both the money and the scientific expertise.
Some people have been saying this is against the dignity of human being, and I'm saying I'm just doing a baby. And
Professor Bitchute is a biochemist and a follower of Rael. She runs a private company called Clonaid, where her scientist, she says, will be the first to clone a human.
Is Bitchute Boisselier, who is a scientific director for a company called Clonaid, also is a visiting assistant professor of chemistry at Hamilton College up in New York State, and we'll point out that she has a PhD in physical chemistry, PhD in analytical chemistry, and you are from France, correct?
Right.
And working here in the U.S. now. You're going to be testifying on Capitol Hill today.
If there is any bad decision in the Congress today or in the coming future, we will have to move, but we'll move. We will not quit the project. So now we have 3 scientists working almost full-time in a lab here in the United States with the major goal for us to produce a human embryo by human cloning. Basic freedom. Freedom of science inquiry and freedom of reproduction and choice of reproduction for any individual. For now, we are on the verge to have this first embryo. It could be in a year from now because we want to make sure that this baby is completely and perfectly healthy.
Scientists around the world are making significant progress in the attempt to create human life in the lab. There's hope that genetically modified pigs will provide organ banks for transplants. Dr. Bitchute Boisselier is cloning humans.
We are dealing with human reproduction, and we are preparing embryos in a laboratory that is included in the clinic, and this is located in a place where it's perfectly legal to do it. So that's the background. We do have 6 scientists working full-time, and we have experts who are associated to us but are not linked to us by any financial thing. They are just experts who are looking at what we're doing in the sense that they will be our witnesses when we just publish and when we open that to the public. So we have very healthy blastocysts, and we hope to present the baby to the press and to the world, a very healthy one soon.
Among the volunteer surrogate mothers for human clones are these young devotees of the Raelian sect.
I always wanted a baby.
Headquarters of the Raelian religion. Closed to tourists for winter and entries by appointment only. The deserted corridors are illuminated by stained glass windows that give an insight into the thinking of this unusual cult. It was founded in France in the early 1970s and now claims 55,000 members worldwide.
Want to interject right here. We've got the sun, which is in Egyptian mythology or history. So we got the male and the female mixing. We got the eye. We got the 2 pillars each side. We got Jacob's ladder going up into the heavens, and we got the moon under her feet. So we got Isis or Ishtar. There's so much in this just one. So this is the whore of Babylon, which is, or the hermaphrodite. So let's go on to the next photo now, which is in art. This is called Cubism, and there's so much more in this than I'm just checking it out now. Got the Sphinx which kind of doesn't look a male, neither a female. We got the pyramid in the background, of course. Many of you now have woken up to symbology in the language and within symbolism, but I'm going to cover more anyway on what's all the symbology in the pyramid and everything. But I thought I'd include this apple park. Many of you know the apple from Genesis, where Eve took a bite from the apple and had the knowledge of good and evil. Satan tricked her and gave it to Adam, and then that was the first Adam that fell, and Jesus Christ was the second Adam that didn't fall. So the apple park, it's actually, the circle can be looked at as all the all-seeing eye, and it's probably a little pile of symbology, but here it is the Ouroboros. We'll get back to the video now, but it says the Ouroboros, or the Euro, which is like UFO, Boros, is an ancient symbol depicting a serpent or dragon eating its own tail. The Ouroboros entered Western tradition by ancient Egypt, like the previous picture, iconography, and the Greek magical tradition. It was adopted as a symbol in Gnosticism and Hermeticism, and most notably in alchemy. The term derives from ancient Greek, I'm not going to say those words because I'll probably murder them. Aura, save, plus Boros, eaten. The Ouroboros is often interpreted as a symbol of eternal life renewal, or a fertility symbol in some religions. In the tail, phallic symbol is often found in the ionic or womb-like symbol. Some snakes, such as rat snakes, have even known to consume themselves. But as you can see, nothing's new under the sun. This New World Order is a very old order from the Babylonian time, where the Tower of Nimrod created the Tower of Babel, and that's what we call Babylon, where the languages were broken. Right, let's get back to the video. I could say so much more actually, but let's get back to it. There's just so much in this anyway.
Expelled from his native France, former racing car driver and journalist Raël now has his base in Canada. It's his ambition to build the structure shown in this model near Jerusalem. Its purpose? To welcome the alien race which inspired his interest in human cloning. The flying saucer is apparently a full-scale replica of the one he originally witnessed in a volcano in France. Raël first inspired Dr. Boisselier, a disciple, to develop research into human cloning. He founded CloneAid and believes cloning is the way to an eternal life where we'll eventually transfer our memories and personalities into adult replicas.
I was first on the earth to say cloning, human cloning is coming very soon. That was 28 years ago, after the encounter with this very advanced civilization from space, the Elohim, whose name is in the Bible, and they are the creators of life on earth. They came on the earth, a very advanced civilization, long time ago. They came on the earth, built big laboratories, and inside these laboratories, using DNA and genetic engineering, they did create all life on Earth.
90% of Canadians oppose the creation of cloned children. But these Raelian surrogates believe humanity will genetically engineer itself into the image of intergalactic aliens. And it's possible they may succeed quite soon.
That the first baby clone is born. She was born yesterday at 11:55 a.m. in the country where she was born. So this will not give you more details about the location. She's fine. We call her Eve.
I think cloning humans is inherently a bad idea for sort of, if I may, evolutionary biological reasons.
This is KCCI News Channel 8 at 10.
From a spiritual standpoint, it makes me very, very nervous.
Is it true? Did scientists really create a human clone? A Florida scientist who believes aliens created life on Earth says she made the world's first human clone. The baby girl called Eve was born yesterday in Hollywood, Florida. But so far, the scientists at CloneAid have refused to identify the parents or provide a picture of the baby. Scientists say the child is a clone of her mother, a 30-year-old American woman. Scientists say the parents are proud of their genetic creation.
The parents are happy, and I hope that you remember them when you talk about this baby, not like a monster.
The doctor is a member of a group called Raelians. They believe the Earth was created by extraterrestrials and that cloning leads to eternal life.
Controversial group.
Researcher Robert Bienkowski reads the latest about a group's claim of a cloned baby and voices doubt.
We don't know about their credentials. We don't know where they did it.
The sample is done.
CloneAid says the story is true, but Bienkowski says cloning animals still isn't fully understood.
It's very difficult to clone mice, even more difficult to clone cows. The animals that have been born oftentimes manifest developmental abnormalities.
News of the supposed newborn clone leaves many Iowans uneasy.
It should be just left natural. I don't think that scientists should be interfering with this sort of thing.
I think we've overstepped our bounds as human beings.
I think cloning goes a little over the edge.
Not everyone is against it.
I think it's pretty cool. Technology's cool. I'd like to see more of it, I guess.
Bienkowski says society needs to decide how far it really wants to go with cloning humans.
That's a debate for everybody, not just scientists or politicians to take part in.
Now, Dr. Bienkowski says therapeutic cloning is something that doesn't have as many ethical implications. Therapeutic cloning is when there's an attempt to clone organs like livers or kidneys to replace diseased or damaged ones.
Okay, certainly a controversial topic.
Oh, certainly.
Thanks, Michelle. A team of independent experts will examine the baby. They'll test the girl's DNA to see if she really is a clone of her mother. Those results should be back sometime next week. Meanwhile, President Bush is calling on Congress to ban all human cloning. Right now, human cloning is allowed in the United States with FDA approval.
Can that be true? Or is it some kind of twisted tale made up by a group of people calling themselves the Raelians? Late last year, Raelian Bishop Dr. Bitchute Waslier announced that a biotechnology company named CloneAid had done it. The Raelians believe that humans evolved from aliens through cloning. Cloning leads to eternal life. Their spiritual leader, 56-year-old former race car driver and journalist Rael, founded the organization after he allegedly was abducted by aliens in 1973. But many are suspect of their claims and are opposed to their practices. Now, Thomas Koenig and Mary Ellen Parent are both members of the Raelian movement, and Thomas is vice president of CloneAid. The debate and the questions from journalists worldwide, not just here in America, is where is the proof? Where is the baby?
We would like to provide the proof as quick and as soon as possible. Probably heard about what happened since we made the announcement. There has been this attorney in Florida asking for a garden for the child. We've had the FDA, the SEC, different government agencies launching investigation. And that scared the parents a lot. You have to put yourself in the mind of a family who's been waiting for years, for many, many years, to have a baby. They're very happy the baby's here. But they're very concerned about what's happening right now, and they don't want to take any risk for the baby to be taken away. So we proceed as soon as possible, as soon as the family will feel safe.
We have a little bit of tape from Rael, and let's listen to this.
Right now, cloning is just the possibility to have a twin brother. Right now, what we can do, what is possible to do, and what I hope Dr. Sid will do, is to create a baby. The next step is when you can, through a process which does exist on the Elohim planet, and which will be discovered on Earth for sure, is what they call accelerated growth process. Accelerated growth process is to be able to create directly an adult from one of your cells. The third step, and this is the one the most interesting, is when you will be able to transfer your memory and personality directly in the individual you obtain through accelerated growth process. Then it's really yourself, with your memory, with your personality.
Hold up, wait. How did we miss this? CloneAid has already cloned humans? That's right, guys. In 2002, a company came forward named CloneAid that already came out with the first baby clone.
The icing on the cake is only 3 days later they had another surprise announcement that there had been 2 more babies born that were clones. Shortly after, a Dutch spokeswoman claimed that another clone baby was born to a Dutch lesbian couple. A few days after, another person came forward, this time from South Korea, claiming a baby boy that was comatose for over 2 years was cloned and then born the day before. This time it was a surrogate mother that had participated since the biological mother was now 41 years old and more likely to have complications during the term of pregnancy. And on January 10, 2003, the United States Court of Justice made a decision and ordered CloneAid to reveal the identity of the alleged clone baby and show proof. Yo, that's like 3 different places that now have said they have clones. Bridget Bossarelli and Real aka Claude Villehorn started their journey on cloning in early 2000 when they announced their first project, cloning a 10-month-old infant that had passed away accidentally. Then in 2001, they assembled their dream team with President Bridget Bossarelli, General Practitioner Mark Rivard, PhD neuroscientist Marcus Wiener, PhD neurobiologist Mahern Sam, and PhD biotech Damian Marsick. Summer of 2001, following several visits from U.S. government officials and United States reviewing of its cloning policies, CloneAid decided to leave the U.S. and pursue its human cloning projects in another country. The whole time the United States Justice Department was demanding that Bridget hand over evidence to her claims, CloneAid kept working on more clones. When they asked why they hadn't handed over evidence, speculations over the children being confiscated from the parents and/or the work on human clones stolen. As of June 2004, Bridget reported that CloneAid had successfully cloned 13 more children. Once again, the U.S. State Department sent an inquiry for evidential proof that the human cloning claims were true. Then in January 2006, CloneAid hired the then-disgraced cloning researcher Dr. Wang Woo-suk. The cult spokesperson, Bridget Bossarelli, claimed that religious powers to be were Wang's downfall, saying it was all planned and that his research results were tampered with to discredit him. CloneAid still didn't release proof. Instead, they showed off a machine called the RMX 2010, which was used in cloning projects, and exhibited it publicly. In Canada, at a small museum called UFO Land, you can find the headquarters of the Re-Alien religion, which is part of the financial backing to CloneAid. Just by doing a little research, you can see that in 2021, CloneAid still has a running website. I mean, they still offer services to have a cloned child or even clone yourself. I did some quick snooping around, checking their website, and going to the products tab, you can see that you can still buy their cloning fusion machine. I mean, it really makes you ask yourself, if it's only around $9 grand to buy this machine, what makes the average Joe not buy this? Well, I guess the downside would be that you would need some type of scientific background or degree, or at least have someone who could run it. I mean, just looking around the internet, you can see multiple stories talking about celebrities who have much more money than the average Joe having clones. Which then leads me to say, why couldn't cloning be real? After CloneAid hired Dr. Wang, a former churchgoer who had been opposed by Korean Catholicism, the Archdiocese of South Korea said it would provide 10 million won, which is just north of US $9.6 million for ethical adult stem cell research. Things started to heat up. In 2007, South Korea announced that in 2005 they had successfully cloned a wolf. In Japan, a 4th-generation pig is cloned, proving that a mammal can be cloned for multiple generations. With all these further improvements in cloning, you'd think CloneAid would come forward with their proof. In 2009, scientists in Spain are able to clone an extinct animal for the first time, the Parian ibex, a subspecies of the Spanish ibex. When the last one died, scientists saved the skin in liquid nitrogen, preserving the DNA. This is hailed as a genetic breakthrough for mammal cloning. CloneAid shut its doors, and the announcement of its next 32 babies were secret. I'll be honest, this is where the trail starts to grow cold. In 2009, for some people, they lost a huge music icon. One thing that Michael Jackson wasn't shy about was his love for human cloning. MJ attended a conference on cloning held by CloneAid, and that's where many think Michael met Bridget Bossarelli. Jackson's chauffeur, Al Bowman, has once stated how he picked up Jackson and some of his doctor friends, including spoonbender Uri Geller. He then took the group to a 3-day convention. After the convention, Michael was excited about the possibility of extending his legacy indefinitely. But yet CloneAid and Bossarelli were still under investigation and hadn't shown proof of viable cloning. Was their whole claim to fame a scam? Was Michael their next victim to be swindled out of money? Currently, it costs around $1.7 million to buy a clone. In 2009, it wasn't exactly cheap, so how much money was CloneAid taking in on each clone? Then in late 2009, it happened. CloneAid showed their version of proof.
In the eerie blue light of his secret lab, one of the world's most controversial scientists shows off his creation, cloned human embryos that are genetic carbon copies of their father.
Oh, my babies are doing well. They look beautiful.
Filmed for a TV documentary, Dr. Panagiotis Zavos implants 11 of the embryos in 4 women, one of them British, in the hope of producing the first cloned human being. The procedure is a criminal offence in the UK, but not in this undisclosed Middle Eastern country.
I think we have 3 very good embryos that could be in utero today, and that if implantation is successful as well, and the pregnancy is maintained, as we say in the US, we have a home run.
Dr. Zavos also reveals he's produced cloned embryos from 3 dead people, including Katie, who died in a car crash. He injected her DNA into a cow egg, though he hasn't implanted the animal-human hybrid. British scientists have condemned his work as reckless. Cloning of animals, such as Dolly, has shown the technique carries risks of severe congenital abnormalities.
In my opinion, it's unethical.
Dr. Zavos adapted a standard cloning technique for his human patients. He first took an egg from the mother and stripped out the nucleus containing 99.9% of her DNA. He then took a skin cell from the father and extracted the genetic material. That was injected into the empty egg and given a jolt of electricity to form a cloned embryo. Within a matter of days, the embryo would have grown into a ball of 32 cells, which Dr. Zavos implanted into the mother's womb. So far, none of the attempts has led to a viable pregnancy, but this infertile Canadian doctor, who wants to remain anonymous, says the technique is his only hope of having a child.
Pretty much decided that probably I would be the first one to be cloned, but then, if it worked, then we might go on to have another child.
Despite almost universal condemnation, Dr. Zavos has vowed to continue his work. He says more than 100 patients have contacted him in the hope of having a cloned baby.
In a striking scientific breakthrough, U.S. researchers have cloned 2 older people, one aged 35, the other 75, into early-stage embryos. This comes after the first early-stage human clones were created last year, but by using cells from infants. Here to discuss this fascinating step forward is Gautam Naik, who joins us from London.
They took their DNA material from older people. One was a 35-year-old male, the other was 75 years old. People of that age tend to have obviously more mature cells, and the idea of creating an embryonic clone of that person based on these older cells is quite remarkable, but these researchers have pulled it off.
2 beautiful little Chinese girls.
This is the doctor who changed the future of the human race and let the world know on YouTube. He Jiankuai stunned the scientific community with the claim he pushed the boundary no one else had.
A line has been crossed that should not have been crossed.
It's very disturbing. It's inappropriate.
Oh, this is huge.
He says he genetically edited human embryos, not just for research but for implantation, leading to the world's first births of genetically altered humans, baby girls born in China from embryos designed to be resistant to HIV.
For this specific case, I feel proud, actually.
The tool used by He, called CRISPR, is found in labs around the world.
It gives us the precise way of cutting the gene or putting a new piece of gene in.
It's often used by researchers trying to treat incurable diseases.
The method itself is very easy. You can use it, everybody can use it now.
Leaders in the field of gene editing have collectively agreed it's too early to implant edited embryos in humans because of the risks, the unknowns, and the ethical questions about altering humankind.
We're at a hinge of human history.
William Hurlbut is a leading American bioethicist who teaches at Stanford University. In the months before the news broke, Dr. He consulted with him.
Every time we met together, we would talk about the seriousness of the issues and in a sort of stepwise way what you had to do to make sure that it was done right. But when I heard that there were live-born children from it, I thought, oh my gosh, he just jumped ahead.
His work has already stoked fears about the future, what it could look like, how soon it could come, whether it includes designer babies, and if a tool found in labs around the world could one day make them. Alexandra Field, CNN, Hong Kong.
Discovery in the field of biotechnology. Cloning technologies have been developed to clone cells and genes, which in turn have been used to develop medicines, diagnostic products, and vaccines.
The sudden potential to clone human beings
by a new technology with rather remarkable characteristics. Ability to clone human beings through the technique known as somatic cell nuclear transfer raises many important scientific, legal, and moral issues that require further review and consideration. We therefore recommend that the current moratorium on attempts to create children in this manner be continued, and that you immediately ask for voluntary compliance in the private sector, while federal legislation, carefully crafted and with appropriate sunset provisions, banning the use of these techniques for creating children, is formulated and considered.
In the words of the private sector to observe the ban voluntarily. Once again, I call upon the private sector to refrain voluntarily from using this technology to attempt to clone a human being. Hope other countries will see what we are doing and do the same.
Hey, Senator, Mr. Dole, good luck next week.
What? Bob Dole doesn't need this.
What's happening? Is it noon already?
What the hell is this? Some kind of tube? Hey.
Well, thanks for taking care of Dole for me. Hey!
Ket Brockman here with Campaign 96. America flips a coin. At an appearance this morning, President Clinton made some rather cryptic remarks, which aides attributed to an overly tight necktie.
I am Clinton. As overlord, all will kneel trembling before me and obey my brutal commands. End communication.
That's Slick Willie for you, always with the smooth talk.
Off-air transmissions from the Bush-Clinton presidential election campaign in the 1990s, we can see that Bill Clinton was nothing more than a puppet to the puppet masters, which placed him in the White House. Bill Clinton's demeanor seems to be similar to a person who is under a hypnotic trance.
I'm sorry. I was in a trance.
Jealous of other girls because I was raised in a cloning lab to be the perfect woman for Hugh M. Hefner. So other than the fact that my IQ is probably a little higher than he would like, I have nothing to worry about. I was raised in a cloning lab.
You think they've cloned humans?
I don't know. I'm not aware of any cloning of humans that has actually taken place, but if you say, is it possible to clone humans?
Yeah, it's very possible, right?
Of course.
Because they've admitted to cloning sheep, right?
Well, you can get your dog cloned right now.
Exactly.
Like literally, it's a dog cloning service.
And you have to realize that there's more than one Obama.
Okay.
They're clones.
Ah, all right. Well, it would take a lot to do a lot of that.
No, and you think I'm kidding you. I'm serious.
Okay.
You when you see the clone can sing and dance. Yeah. The real Obama, he can't sing or he can't dance.
They're already making clones and they're storing them in the thousands, okay? And they are able to keep these clones alive until they activate them. And we call these programmed lifeform clones, not just a regular clone that they make and they use for their own personal, whatever, assistant. These are clones that are actually going to use for something. And I can speculate only the worst, because I wouldn't want a whole world full of clones that who knows what's going to happen if they mutate or down the road or how long their lifespan might be. So they're probably going to be used for war because they're, just an asset that can be, destroyed. That's the only thing I can think of, because I don't know why they would store so many clones in one area and then, this information leak out into the private mill labs. It could be, disinformation, but it's not. It's actual real information. And now it's coming out to the public. China's already saying they'll be growing people for their organs. It's on national news. So what's going to happen when they're 18? You just kill them and take the organ? I mean, what's going to happen here? Like, you're just growing these people.
That's pretty bizarre. They're clones, stupid ass. Damn, they look just like you.
It's the same exact person. Even down to the DNA. You know what DNA is?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
DNA is digital necessary asset. I always thought it was that.
Now, what I need to know is we're going to break up into two groups.
Who wants to be down with the Kill Kevin clone group?
And now he's on SportsCenter. Kevin Hart, star of the new film Central Intelligence, joining us now. How do you do it? I look on Twitter, there you are. Facebook, there you are. Television, there you are. How do you do it?
I have a clone.
I was going to say that. There's two of you.
Cat's out the bag, okay? It's about a good 3 of me. We broke it. They didn't want to release it yet. This is major news that I'm giving you.
All right.
I'm the first person to ever use it. I'm cloned.
Okay.
That's why I'm able to do all that I do.
There are 2 different Donald Trumps. There's the one you see on the stage, and there's the one who's very cerebral, sits there and considers things very carefully. You can have a very good conversation with him. And that's the Donald Trump that you're going to start seeing more and more of right now.
I think there are 2 Donald Trumps. There's the public version, and people see that, and I don't know what they see exactly, but it seems to have worked over my lifetime. But it's probably different, I think, than the personal Donald Trump. I think Ben would say that. Ben said it very well today. So perhaps there are 2 Donald Trumps.
So it's a very, it just sends chills up my spine, Well, why grow one organ when you can grow a whole body?
That's the way they think.
Yes.
With immense popularity comes multi-million-dollar mansions and cars, brand deals, and clone and look-alike replacement conspiracies?
The devil took all the producers, the musicians, the designers, moved us all out to Hollywood, moved us all out to New York, literally signing a contract to selling our souls. They got contracts out there that say, you can't say Jesus. Literally signing a contract to selling our souls. Literally signing a contract to selling our souls. Well, if the devil had you serving 8 restaurants at one time, it might drive you crazy. It might drive you crazy. It might drive you crazy. Life has shown me that God is the only, the real, not the phony. The phony will clone me, but just watch how they clone me. And most of us told me, the phony will clone me, but just watch how they clone me.
Apparently so. A clone is an individual who's identical to another, often depicted as being made in a lab. However, in some depictions, a clone can be a regular doppelganger posing as someone else. Eminem. Since the early years of his career, infamous Slim Shady has been subject to many rumors. The conspiracy first arose in 2013, following his interview with BBC News. In the interview, Eminem told the audience to, quote, stay out of his head, and stared at them for an uncomfortable amount of time before continuing with the interview. Strange? We think so too.
I wouldn't wish that on nobody.
You should address the camera, because right now there's a lot of people probably
stay out of my head.
Good to see you. Marshall Mathers. Some of you may know him as Eminem, but he's going to join the Saturday night crew with our music intro starting next Saturday night. But folks, I want to take you to the world premiere of one of his new videos called Berserk. Take a listen. So was that the great Rick Rubin who was helping produce that with you, Marshall, when you did that?
Yeah, sorry. Live TV. Live TV freaks me out a little bit.
No.
Yes, I'm sorry. What was the question? I'm really uncomfortable right now.
This behavior, we're miles beyond a glitch here.
For a while, the rumors had died down. That was until 2019, when artist Tim McDonald released a song entitled Cloned Rappers, where he claimed that Eminem died in 2006 after a drug overdose, and that Eminem's manager worked with the Illuminati to turn Eminem's cadaver bone sample into a clone of him to continue banking coin off his legacy. Take a second to let that sink in. You know it's a lot. Even crazier? A plethora of Eminem's fans believe this conspiracy to be true. The conspiracy theory fanatics believe that this explains Eminem's drastic change in appearance, transitioning from a blonde-haired boy to a brown-haired man, beginning to show signs of aging. Alongside his physical changes, the content of Eminem's lyrics has also greatly evolved. It has gone from speaking of violence to his more recent songs, which tend to be more reflective of his experiences and aspirations in life. But as Slim Shady says himself, he is the rap god. So perhaps that is his confession that he isn't human after all.
Hi. Yes, like they say in Catholic school, leave room for the Holy Ghost. Anyway, there is a lot of memories today, actually. It's a big day in music history.
35 years ago today, Elvis Presley passed away, the king of rock and roll. And as Mark Cohn says in his great song, Walking in Memphis, there's a pretty little thing waiting for the king.
Al Roker just kind of froze like that. He stood completely still without a look on his face for 17 seconds. 17 seconds, that's like a day and a half in live TV time. And I need to know what that was about.
Injustice, and again, the food security issue. He's been spelling that out the whole time. I want you to know that we in the Congress fully support and take...
Folks, as we fight inflation, you can't be pro-insurrection and pro-cop. Bringing down gas prices is a big part of the job. You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-democracy. You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-American. And here's the good news. Gas prices have dropped every day this summer. That's more than 40 days in a row. Donald Trump lacked the courage to act. We now have 40,000 gas stations in the United States where the price of gas is $3.99 or less. The brave women and men in blue all across this nation should never forget that. How do we get the price down? Well, the new report today shows that the D.C. Metropolitan Police, other law enforcement agencies were attacked and assaulted before our very eyes, speared, sprayed, stomped on, brutalized. The lives were lost. And for 3 hours, the defeated former President of the United States watched it all happen as he sat in the comfort of the private dining room next to the Oval Office. While he was doing that, brave law enforcement officer subject to the medieval hell for 3 hours.
Actually go back to... Hold on a minute. Sir, can somebody help me?
Jim. But despite that awful cost,
That could only be the musical stylings of Victor Oladipo, who is the reigning two-time champion of the All-Star Weekend Player Talent Show.
You are talented. I'll give you a little credit on that. A lot of credit. You're very talented. I mean, you're not a karaoke guy like me, but you can actually you know they call me O'Brown Eyes, right?
As a matter of fact, you both have experience singing New York, New York. His was at the Slam Dunk Contest. Yours was in Vegas. Yes. We had the show out there. Here's just a little sampling.
If you go to Disney World, for instance, down there in the Haunted Mansion, you see the hologram, right? Oh, you know how to make a hologram. Well, our scientists have learned how to make people. They call them synthetics. Are you familiar with those?
Well, actually, we just interviewed John Laird. He was talking about being in an audience in which they were given a lecture by a guy that they thought was real and found out later he was a hologram.
Well, it's a synthetic. A synthetics, when you touch their skin, it feels like plastic almost. That's the latest technique. The old techniques, if you guys can rent a video, the boys from Brazil, rent it, because in it, it gives you the exact way how our government's been making people.
Really?
Yeah,
well,
and the Soviets had a different method called...
I mean, making people meaning temporary people?
No, walking, talking ones.
Meaning through genetics? You're not talking about that?
Well, let me tell you. The movie shows it, but I'll share it with you right now.
All right.
All I need to do is take 2 cells off of your body, yours.
Uh-huh.
We give them a small electrical charge. I'm just don't act like a fertilized egg. If I got a fertilized egg, all I need is a receiver in order to make it. So they were hypnotizing women, say they were being invaded by aliens, and the fetus starts growing, right? Needs food. Well, they can use cows and sheep too. It's, again, a food source. That's all we need. After about 14 weeks, all of a sudden that fetus is gone because they've learned to take. That's when the fetus starts developing its own blood supply. Then they've used a pituitary hormone extract that they have, which accelerates the being that grows.
Well, my understanding is that a lot of presidents have already been replaced.
That's right.
Yeah,
I don't think...
They're walking around, they look old, but they basically, some of the people are just
I'll give you something to ponder. Get some old videos of George Bush, when he first came into office. Look at the person and listen to him speak. Look at his actions. And listen to everything that's there. Since 1938, they've been making clone people. There's 8 countries making clones. I have a doctor friend that all he does is treat the clones.
Where do you get your information?
I get it from some of the people that are willing to come forth, and they talk to me because they hope I'll put the information out because they always got 2 people following them and they may be killed. If I start talking about cloning too much, the people that get involved into that disappear on it. So I don't go into too many more details, but there is information that's available, and more and more of that's coming online. If you go to the hospital today and get an encephalogram, what's that? That's the memory of your conscious mind. It's on the CD. Let's download it on this being. Now we got a walking, talking duplicate.
It was way bigger than I even anticipated, and now I think we're gonna make part 2. I think you have to. I think you have to. They kill you if you try to walk away, and they clone you.
What you got to say for the camera?
He's out buying, getting stuff. I'm waiting for him to come back. Our first caress.
President of Portugal fainted during a speech to the country's military. Aníbal Cavaco Silva was taken ill during ceremonies for Portugal's National Day.
Ride, to be honest. I really can't complain. Yeah, I was kind of, I was a little down when I found out I was injured and I had to have surgery again, or with another knee. But at the end of the day, I have amazing teammates. Guys like Draymond, everybody on this team.
In every way, and I was
very proud of him. Did you talk about vice presidential possibilities with Senator Warren? Did you talk about vice presidential possibilities with Senator Warren?
All right, and Connor, can you respond? Say something nice about Jose, please? No? Okay, not happening.
Yeah, it's a difficult title. It's a good day to die.
But I suppose it's because you had kind of a good day, and if you would have died, well, so be it. Is that it?
That's right. That's a good explanation. Have a sandwich, and let's go shopping. Die hard.
Think about the doctor's findings and testimony. Log on to cfnews13.com/chat to voice your opinion. I'm chatting too. We'll try to answer your questions.
So.
Spasm of publicity about what happened from Mexico to London.
It was pretty rough, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Ah, weird. Hello. Oh my goodness. Hello. Ew, strong bringing. Yeah, it was a weird.
The bottom line is that the government is getting what they have ordered. They're getting what they have paid for. They do not want your children to be educated. They do not want you to think too much. That is why our country and our world has become so proliferated with entertainments, mass media, game shows, television shows, amusement parks, drugs, alcohol, and every kind of entertainment to keep the human mind entertained so that you don't get in the way of important people by doing too much thinking. You had better wake up and understand that there are people who are guiding your life and you don't even know it. And all American citizens, I think, have suspected something like this is going on. But we're all too busy trying to stay alive and live our lives. And after all, what can one person do about it? One person can do nothing. But a nation educated can do much.
Back in 1932, Aldous Huxley published a futuristic science fiction novel called Brave New World, in which citizens of a dystopian future endure government-engineered social ranks alongside major scientific advancements in reproductive technology. Alpha embryos are engineered to become the leaders of the world state. and each lower caste has their own place in society for which they are conditioned. But in order for everyone to efficiently fall into place for a fluid society, individuality and emotion must be conditioned out, meaning there are no lasting relationships, no monogamy, and no love because everyone belongs to everyone else. The novel opens by telling us about the Bokanovsky process, where the hatchery is able to produce thousands of nearly identical human embryos, engineered through artificial wombs. The gestation period of the embryo involves traveling in bottles along a conveyor belt in a factory, and thereafter children are indoctrinated to belong to one of the 5 castes based on a number of criteria. Among other major takeaways from Brave New World, Huxley shared a very early description of human cloning and hijacking the human genome in order to mass-produce a complicit society. Since the introduction of Dolly the sheep in 1996, everyone knows that scientists have been able to clone animals for a while, so why not humans? When has science ever let ethics get in the way of what they regard as progress? Alongside Brave New World, there have been hints that human cloning is entirely possible and has been done before.
Absolutely no clue about. The fact that we now understand, we know how to clone little animals and big animals, we know how to clone humans. And if you're fooling yourself, believing that nobody is little babies anywhere, you're misguided, because there are people out there in laboratories, in places that you can't even pronounce, that are busy cloning human beings and doing things to those little clones that we can't even imagine. Whether they're cloning them for harvesting stem cells or doing other things or blending them with other species, cloning of humans is going on right now. And unfortunately, the deeper you get into this research, the more you realize that there's been a consistent and ongoing underlying disinformation that's been accompanying human progress and human evolution. And as we move along and as we evolve and progress, every so often an event would happen that dumbs us down, brings us back a whole bunch of notches, that we lose previous knowledge and information of past civilizations.
But Dr. Love is here with us to say they're not science fiction, are they?
Right. This is absolutely real. As freaky, I mean, yeah, it's real. The pieces have never been about testing for code, as people were told. It is about cloning. They are cloning devices, and this has been admitted to by the NIH. It's on their website in a study entitled "Molecular Cloning: Polymerase Chain Reaction: An Educational Guide for Cellular Engineering." So I encourage people to look that up and read it. It confirms everything that I've been saying and documenting on my website. There are patents as well, and the patents do say on the kits, they do say that it's cloning technology. They use that exact word. So here, this study on the NIH website, it explains everything on how the cloning works using kits. So for example, it talks about vector DNA sequences and fluorescent protein. Basically all of the kits that are cloning devices, they're using the fluorescent protein that comes from insects. You know, it's the firefly, the green fluorescent protein. The technology, they say it's very fast and efficient, and they're using vectors that get cut into pieces. Those are the direct words, that messenger vectors are cut into pieces. And that means that in this particular study, it references parasites and worms. So these are the carriers of the messenger. They get cut into pieces inside the body, and that is used to transfect the human genome. The DNA carried from these microorganisms are then used to change humans, to clone humans. So it also says that the vector DNA is prepared in E. coli. So that is the base. They talk about toxic genes. In some of our kits, they are using toxic genes. They admit to that.
Tell us a little bit about the study that just came out of Sweden that is just so alarming.
The news is buzzing out of Lund University, Malmö, Sweden. Marcus Alden is the first author. The first demonstration in a human hepatic or liver cell line that the in fact reverse transcribes and installs into the human genome.
Wow. And so in simple terms, what does that mean, Dr. Bartlett?
Thank you for making it simple. So basically, there's an enzyme that can take that messenger RNA information and put it into the DNA of the person, into their DNA. And we were told that could not happen. So this is in a lab, but it's showing that you remember the go into your DNA, but this is showing that in a lab it can.
They are changing the human species, attempting to genetically modify humans and treating humans like animals. And basically by using this, we'll just, they use many different species, but in particular, the green fluorescent protein, which comes from the firefly, that means they are actually turning people into hybridized humans with insect DNA. So they are transfecting, because we know from the study out of Sweden recently that the mRNA is transfecting and transcribing through reverse transcriptase into the human genome. That means people are becoming part insect. They are going to carry then and insect DNA. I don't know, maybe that's why.
So is this actively happening right now, or is this a plan for the future?
No, this is happening now.
Now, this is really creepy. Anne Hathaway is being talked about for her beauty, but what about the fact that her husband looks very similar to William Shakespeare? And William Shakespeare's wife's name was literally Anne Hathaway. Are they immortal? Or just time travelers?
You need to see this. Do you think Lil Baby is a clone?
My body here, but my mind and soul don't be here. I just ain't, I learned a lot of this from prison. Like, I was hurt in prison before. Like, just the whole time I'm in jail to the point I just, like...
You know, I'm not saying that people can't look similar, but when you're this famous, and there's people back in the day who looks exactly like you, it makes you wonder.
And the ring and the cloning centers. That's right, darling. The cloning centers have many big plans to expose all of you disgusting, sadistic.
This is not Taylor Swift, but Taylor might be one of her clones.
This is Zena LaVey. She's a musician and the former high priestess of the Church of Satan. Her father was the founder. A lot of people argue that this theory is just because they look like each other. But let's take a closer look. First of all, there are many satanic and Illuminati references in Taylor's music videos. I can make another video explaining that. Zena was high priestess from 1985 to 1990. Taylor was born in 1989. We only hear about powerful people being cloned. So Taylor being born in 1989 could make sense. They're both musicians. What if Taylor got her love for music because it was in her DNA?
I can't find the tweet anywhere, but Taylor acknowledged the theory back in 2014. It was a joke about her being like the queen of the clones, but if she is a clone, she might not even know.
First of all, I just want to say I know it's confusing. They literally made it that way. Let me explain. So the CIA's specialty is psychological warfare, and what they do is hide the truth underneath an insane, crazy, unbelievable conspiracy theory type story or movie or TV show. I wouldn't say this without proof. I've made the video before. This is a link to the video. Check it out. It's actually CIA documents on Project Mockingbird. Explains it in the video. Anyways, they use their media ties with elaborate stories to plug inside reality and plug into our society and put these crazy narratives out here that we'll never believe, so we just end up looking the other direction and turning the other way, which is exactly what's happening here. I thoroughly believe the alien aspect to it and the crazy dressing and the cult style was put there to really turn everybody off to the fact that if you look past cloning, there's probably secret DOD or secret military operations like in Area 51 are probably underground. We all know they have layers of stuff underground, and a lot of stuff that they put in movies is true. So we all know that that would be hush hush. It's so hush hush that this is the layer above that they put. It's a big joke, and it's the big dead end. You'll never get anywhere with this because it's a never-ending story that they construed to protect like a shield the truth underneath. In Freemasonry, they call that the hidden hand. So I believe it's happening. I'm not going to speculate as to the details. I believe it's true. I believe they are replacing people. I believe there are psychological operations. I believe it's a mixture of the truth and insanity on purpose to mix everything up. But this absolutely is true. Clones are here. They've admitted it. The technology over the years, it's been here for a long time. It's almost like they've been prepping us for this crazy transhumanism that the World Economic Forum has been pushing on us. If you don't know about that, that's a rabbit hole you should go down. There's a ton more information I wanted to include in this video, but I couldn't have it too long because no one would watch it. So please go down to this link here, join Telegram, it's free, this channel's free. This is the archive that I stored all the videos, everything you've seen here and more. Please go check out the archive, and there's so much more at thedisclosurehub.com. Don't forget to check out Westworld Decoded, The Pandemic, and The Construct is basically number 2 to what you just saw. So please check out The Construct. It's called Westworld Decoded, The Construct. There's a link right here. Check it out. It's on our Rumble. If this stuff is new to you and you find it as compelling and true as I do and you want to start digging, please make it your hobby. Start digging, find more information, and just bring it up in conversation. That's how you save the world. We're all doing it, one at a time. Come join us. This has been GK with the Disclosure Hub.
Again, contact me also on welshmanstudios@gmail.com. That's my new Gmail account. So this might be on Rumble and Bitchute. I'm getting everything together. I'm looking for any pictures, paranormal stuff, what you've captured, anything like that. Just really look forward to that, and I'm looking forward to doing some interviews and etc. So take care and God bless.